GM. GM, 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 GM. I need a fresh chart. Let's get a clean chart here. We'll look at some data as well as kind of gauging the strength of and the health of this altcoin rally. So if we look at total three, let me go back here. Right, I showed you on daily levels how just in this tiny period here, right, which didn't look like a whole lot for total three itself, moved up, pulled back, second pullback, reaccumulate, goes higher. That doesn't seem violent. But I showed you Aave, Link, and you go and check more of them, synthetics, compound, 50, 60, 70% pullbacks on alts. It was a brutal time, short term, for alts. But it wasn't for anyone who's positioned early. Because the reason they did that, right, the reason that like synthetics had that kind of move in August 2020, here we go. The reason synthetics had this fucking 68% decline is because it had been up only and just accelerating all the way. So our coin's looking like this right now because total three is looking similar, meaning right now we have total three breaking above its highs after a little dip and a consolidation. Markets definitely bullish, nobody can deny that. And over here, we had similar in that it broke above one high, it was consolidating, and it set a base. So this time it didn't quite make a new high, but it had been moving up, pulled back, failed to go higher, and then that flush, right? Moving up, pull back, pushing up at the highs. Now maybe it keeps going, has a pullback from there. What I'm saying is if total three does that, just this on a pullback, a lot of these alts can get absolutely smashed. But I have to be very, very clear to say that might not be where we're at. We might be at one of these phases over here where we're just breaking out and going higher, right? We might be at a phase where it's just going to go grinding up and continue up. That can also happen. What will tell you if that's going to happen or not? Well, you need to see, and this is where you need to look through your alts. Are you seeing these kind of accelerated moves across the market? A true altcoin rally. So then you have to go check. You have to go through your alts. Solana, has it had a rally? Sure looks like it. Everyone's convinced, of course, Solana must go higher and can't go any lower than here. But no denying that that's an extended one-way up-only rally with a blow-off top at the end, right? Blow-off top, 6 or 7 days up only, right? Just putting it out there. Chainlink, bit better, rallied up, consolidated for a month or two, for what, about almost 2 months. That's pretty good. I don't mind that. That's a pretty solid base. Lido, Frax, Say. There's a good example. One of the newer coins. How is this different to Aave in 2020 or Synthetics in 2020? Right? What's like? Is Say somehow better? Right? Because I remember 2020. Aave was a breakthrough revolutionary technology in 2020. It was fucking lending markets. Wow, DeFi. This was the start of DeFi, right? And so because Say has gone higher and broken out, does that mean that it can't go lower? Are we in a new paradigm? I wouldn't be so sure. Sui, been grinding up only. This looks like it's probably days away from a massive pump, which could be its blow off top. Some of them, like I showed with Neon, have already had them. Some of them are building up, like Render, where it might have it. BitTensor already talked about on daily levels. Akash. I mean, as well as the cash, like if the cash goes to $4, $5, $6, it can easily have a 50% pullback. It can. You just don't have these blow off tops without some kind of significant correction. Like there's an example of Chlor from months ago. Massive rally up and blow off top, and then big pullback. And several weeks of reaccumulation, and it goes again. So, do I see enough coins? There's helium, right? Is helium going to be the future of finance? You see a bunch of them that have kind of already had decent pullbacks. And I think the market is, there's AVAX. Right, AVAX, oh, sorry, that's Sui. The market isn't going to go much higher than, I'm just looking through in general. IMX, pushing up. Yeah. Mixed bag. What I draw from that is we're in a different, slightly different phase where I think the altcoin rotations are much more pronounced, meaning there's charts that are like this, which are just fucking literally down only. And then there's a lot of stuff that's really strong and going up. So the correlations are a lot looser this time, which is actually good. 2020, we didn't really have that. I mean, we obviously had mostly DeFi leading in that DeFi summer, but in general, the market was kind of rising in tandem, in unison with each other. And for me, I think we're not near a top yet in alts. I think some of them are getting into that phase where the acceleration is beginning. Like I said with BitTensor, right? That's definitely accelerating. Even AKT, which is behind it, but it's getting to that point where if you don't see a pullback, if it just keeps going up and up and up, eventually it'll keep going up to a point where it can't go up anymore and has to correct back. But again, I don't see it being there yet. I think it set a nice consolidation for about a month. I would say this probably continues into the $1 range, but then does top out there. Whether it goes sideways, consolidates, or whether it has a bigger pullback, I don't know. So overall, unless there's some real weakness in Bitcoin, I think alts are going to continue higher. Good alts. Like you can already see that there's a bunch of alts that are just doing nothing. They'll accumulate. They'll take longer, right? If you have an altcoin that you're looking at and it's really underperforming, it just means that the rotation, the time isn't right for it. Or it could be a shitcoin. Like there's a lot of dog shit. If you remember, I talked about this all last year. There's going to be a bunch of coins that just never go up again to a significant extent, right? There's going to be a bunch of shit like Filecoin, which just I'm not saying this will be Filecoin because it's got like the storage narrative, the AI narrative. Filecoin might actually pump, but there's a lot of stuff that looks like this here after look where Bitcoin went. Bitcoin's like up here, and there's still a bunch of alts that are like this, and a lot of them will just stay there. Right, they'll go up a bit, but they won't go up significantly. And not necessarily Filecoin like, but look at Litecoin is another one. Right? Litecoin is just fucked. And this, see for like when the actual cycle top is in, Litecoin's probably one of your best bets. Because this thing should just never go up again. But because it's a bull market, it'll eventually go up. And you'll see like just randomly Litecoin doing that. That's your fucking cycle top. Whenever that is. I don't know when it is. The biggest piece of fucking shit that ever existed is Litecoin. And when it goes like that, it's game over. Because nobody wants it. It's inferior in every single way to Bitcoin. It's an old coin. It's full of bag holders. But let's zoom in here back into the charts. Look, I'm looking at this. Funding's spiked right back up. Altcoin open interest is making new highs, while Bitcoin's is kind of sideways. Touching highs, but sort of more sort of sideways. But yeah, this is telling me alts are starting to lead. Altcoin open interest has really ramped up all the way since the lows. No significant corrections or pullbacks from negative funding to neutral funding to positive funding. Again, this is where people usually fuck it up. Funding does not mean we crash. You need high funding for a certain period because that shows massive buying and no selling. Because if there's a positive funding rate, it means that futures is leading. Why is futures leading? Either because there's loads of leverage buying, or, which is most important, people don't want to short. And that's what causes high funding. If you don't want to short because you see it's an uptrend, like who the fuck in their right mind would be shorting right now? Look at Bitcoin. Look at the altcoin market. Everything looks like it's going up. So people don't want to short. So they remove that. They don't touch the short button. What does that do? That creates an imbalance on perpetuals where there's a bunch of buying and not much selling. What does that mean? Price goes up. That's how funding can dislocate. It is not a bad sign immediately. It does not automatically mean that leverage apes are coming in. It first means people don't want to sell. They don't want to short. They're afraid. They don't want to get squeezed. And if people are afraid to hit the short button, it will just keep going up. Now, eventually, it'll go up to a point where spot sellers think, okay, this has gone up too much. Good time to step in, take some profit. That's where the top comes. And then it rolls over and starts to go down. And that's where all the leverage longs that have built up and haven't closed, that's when they get wiped. I don't think we're there yet. I think when you go back and you can see how persistently high funding looks, we're just at the beginning of it starting to build up again. Now, it doesn't have to build up to the same extent as last time, but like over here, we come out of the October lows, we got a bit of positive funding, we had a dip back down, but then it was really December. It was basically the month of December that altcoin funding was persistently high for a long time. That was a whole month. And alts went up all month. We had some shakeouts. But right now, what are we getting? We're just getting the first little ramp back up. I think the fear people have because they saw this crash and they saw the altcoin dips, people are always fearful because they think, oh no, look at this, high funding again. Oops, got to sell, got to get short. Don't feel like taking longs. I would disagree. It's okay to not get long here. I would not get long here right now. The first dip, 20% on alts, whatever you see, like the first correction. Pick your alt. Put your daily bands on. Really simple, right? Arbitrum. Pick your altcoin. Go to the daily. Put on the bands. And first time you get a flush into them, Arbitrum's not actually that bad. It's not really. I'll find one that's like, even say, right? Say is pumping, right? Whenever say stops pumping and has like that, that's the time to buy it. Because at that point, the bands will be up, it'll touch them, it'll be the shakeout. But the first dip, we haven't had a dip since this rally began. Look, off the lows, no dip. The first dip will get bought. Will it be from here? Or will it be higher? From there? There'll be something, right? 4-hour chart. Tends to look like this. 4-hour chart, moves up, forms some kind of top, flushes back, and away it goes. We're currently here for a lot of coins, or here. Like we're in the up phase. It doesn't mean you should get long now, or add long, or buy dips, or buy on the way up. Wait for a decent dip, a correction. And I'll be buying it first time because it's just like the first breakout of any consolidation, right? Moves up only, dips down into the bands. What happens? People think, oh, that's it, it's over. No, it's just the start. So that's what I'd be looking at. Even like over here, I mean, you can see any of these moves when they start to really accelerate up. So when say it was coming out of its lows, this was a huge move. big move up, no pullbacks, and then it starts to chop, chop, chop. Then it has a pullback. Oh no, it's losing the bands. Don't buy it. Oh, don't feel safe to buy here. Look what happens. Away it goes. Massive. So whether it's say, whether it's a different coin, to me it doesn't matter. I think we're just starting to get the bullish impulse back. We're starting to see open interest ticking up. It definitely can get flushed, but I don't think that the next dip will be the end. I think the next dip will probably be a dip to buy. So I'm waiting for that. GM, GM, GM.